So Rongjiang is a county in Guizhou province, and it's relatively rural, I would say. I mean, but yeah, I don't think people were making it seem like a miracle at all. I think people were making it seem like it was like really hard work, and also still really hard work, and like not finished.
So what do they credit it to? Because like hard work.
Yeah, like political organization, like working, like the party really like kept. I guess my point is like, it wasn't a miracle. They worked really hard. There was political planning. There was a lot of failure, a lot of success. It's like these people's lives are objectively getting non-objectively getting better. Objectively, non-objectively, they're just getting better, right? They're participants in this process. They're not just observers. It's not a welfare system.
Right.
These people are protagonists in improving their lives, improving the quality of life of their neighbors, improving their town's life. Are people sacrificing a lot of hours of their day working? Yeah, like literally everywhere else. Of course. I'm not. China is not some like fantasy land. This is not a utopian country.
Yeah.
It's a lovely country. I love China.
大家好，欢迎回到本期访谈下篇。上半段我们听完这位阿根廷青年介绍复旦大学全球南方暑期学校课程，讲师与发展理论思考。下半段他将带来更鲜活的一线亲身经历，在为期2周的项目里，一半中国学生，一半国际学员的构成，让他第一次深度和本土青年平等交流，看清海内外对华认知巨大差异。同时他分享舞蹈视角下冷战至今亚非、拉美民间反帝文化团结脉络，梳理新中国对外平等交流一以贯之的底层逻辑，最重要的实地走访，贵州榕江少数民族县域，村超文旅，数字农业电商脱贫故事，也会完整展开解释当地发展绝非所谓奇迹。接下来我们继续完整聆听他的实地见闻与深度思考。
Well, one thing that was really cool for me was like talking to Chinese. So like about half of the student body was like Chinese students,
Okay.
right? And I'm going to be so honest, like I've never engaged with like Chinese students like from China, like full like not like I have friends who were raised in China but moved to the US. These were like students who like are raised in China, studying in China, like, you know, China, like, and this was my first time ever engaging with people that have that life experience.
What's your take?
The lives of their families have only improved in the last 20 years. What other people can say that? Like what other nation group or like people from another country can really say that? I mean, there are projects right now, like in Mexico and in Brazil that are, you know, things are getting a lot better. But these are projects that have over the last 20 years really fluctuated. Speaking to Chinese students, there is a level of optimism. But my point is like you can talk to Chinese people here in China and realize that like so much of the propaganda is bullshit in like 3 minutes. It takes 3 minutes to have a serious conversation. And so that was, that to answer your question, like that was the cool part about like engaging with Chinese students.
Yeah.
In terms of like the international students.
Well, talk about the criticism that you mentioned.
What they were complaining about.
Right. What they were complaining about.
I mean, they like Chinese young people especially, I think, like they understand that they live in like a world capitalist system. Like they're not under the illusion that like China is immune to market, like the world. I mean, people don't realize how many prices of goods and things are not set in China. They are set in New York City or like London, right? Like China is also vulnerable to many of these things, right? Like it is.
I think the trade war is for a lot of young Chinese people the first time to realize that China is a bubble, but it's a very porous bubble.
It's a much
things get in.
Yes, it's a much. I mean, you have a state here who protects the average person from a lot of the consequences of these kind of more like world shifting events. So like these students were aware that things were not as bad here as maybe in other countries, but they still were like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, but you know, school is really stressful, right? And like the you know, like sometimes, you know, wages aren't as high as maybe I would like them to be. Like people like, you know, and I think the other thing too is like, one thing that I think is really different about the way that people complain here is that people are productive complainers, as in like they criticize and complain about things with the understanding, or at least the hope that they can influence those things getting better, or they have some trust in the people in charge to improve those things. And I think that just comes, that doesn't come from like a blind loyalty of the party. That comes from an understanding that things literally have gotten better.
It's experience.
It's experience, right? Yeah. But these students are debating and participating in what that could look like, right? Even if they're not like in the party themselves, which I don't know. I didn't ask every student, like, are you a card carrying member? But like, even if they're not, I think it even speaks more to the fact that as not party members, they have thoughts and criticisms. And you hear people's comments from the left perspective, and you hear people's from the right perspective, which think that everything that in China is bad is because it's China. And that if we were just like the US, which I think those opinions have really lost in the last 10 years, in the last 5, you don't hear that much anymore. But like, it's present. It's totally present. I think one thing that is like a little bit frustrating for me, and I think like we were speaking about this before, is like foreigners are more likely to believe other foreigners' perceptions about China more than Chinese people. And I think that's something that we were able to kind of break over the course of those 2 weeks, because we really created like little friend groups of like some Chinese students, some foreign students. Like, it's actually okay to let Chinese people like define their own narrative. And a lot of Chinese people will have really different opinions. So there's a lot of white people do great work on China. There you go. You know, but I think what we need to be doing, and I'm saying this from like the global South perspective, right, is like start to engage with Chinese people as like equals and like really like respect what they have to say about their own project. And I think I think this is one of the other things I really took out of this program. Chinese people need to also start doing the same with other people from the global South, because I also think within China there is a misunderstanding of the realities of a lot of the history of global South countries, the issues that are present in our countries, where Argentina is on a map. Like, and it's not, it's
what
okay.
do you think some of the biggest misunderstandings from the Chinese to the global South are?
It's a really good question. I mean, there's always a little bit of truth in every, misunderstanding, right? I think that people in China think that like US imperialism is like not that big of a deal in Latin America. I think sometimes people might not understand like, so China had an experience with Japanese imperialism, right? And I would say like the US is our Japan, right? Like, I think maybe some Chinese people, they're just now waking up to how crazy the US is. No one in Latin America is just now waking up to how crazy the US is, right? Like, and I think this is why you hear a lot of criticisms of people in Latin America, like, oh, the Chinese and the US, they make all these deals and they kind of operate. I mean, I don't agree, but like some people will say they operate in the same way.
Or G2, whatever, yeah.
Right. We can criticize things, of course, but we have to do it from a point of understanding, and we have to understand also that a lot of the information that we're getting is actually just false, especially when it's relevant to China. And the best way, in my opinion, to counter this disinformation is people-to-people exchange. It's the best way to do it. But what I mean is just normalizing like China as a partner, as a people, as a place, as a culture, so that when we hear China, we don't immediately think like bad things,
right?
Which is unfortunately like what a lot of people think. We are seeing surveys now that show that that's changing. So China's doing, I think, a really good job, and I think progressive people in their countries are also doing a really good job of changing this perception. It's not, I think, where it needs to be. And I think what's really lacking, in my opinion, is like genuine people-to-people cultural exchange, like social movement exchange, whatever that looks like.
Like the summer school.
Educational exchange, for sure.
Right. I want to talk about Rongjiang though, because
I love Rongjiang.
That's so interesting to me.
My second house. Like, I'm really obsessed. I'm sorry.
Okay, so tell us about like what Rongjiang is. Why did you go? And I also want to know, what's the story? Not the story. I'm using story in a purely neutral way.
Yeah.
What's the story? The official narrative of the Rongjiang, the kind of the poverty alleviation miracle.
Yeah.
Like how do the locals themselves tell it?
Yeah. So Rongjiang is a county in Guizhou province, and it's relatively rural, I would say. I mean, there is kind of like, rural in the Chinese case is like it would be a city in another country, but it's quite small. It's probably the smallest city I've been to in China. And they have kind of become viral on the internet, kind of known internationally, because they have these like yearly like football, soccer for
it's like very
North
local
American
village
audience,
level soccer leagues.
led by the community, with different villages kind of like competing with each other. They have their own like team shirts. I bought one. Like it's really great because a lot of these things are very accessible to people there. Like it's become very much like part of the local culture. I feel like it has
very
its own
internet accessible kind of imagery. Yeah.
But I will say it's like, yeah, it's great for like social media. It also just genuinely makes the place look really beautiful. Like it's really lovely. Yeah. Like there's a lot of like art, like street art around the sport that I think is like really lovely. It makes the anyway. But yeah, I don't think people were making it seem like a miracle at all. I think people were making it seem like it was like really hard work, and also still really hard work, and like not finished. And like we met with different villagers, like different party leaders, like local party leaders, of course, and also just like normal, like, you know, town people who would like receive us in their villages. And I mean, especially the people who are like really involved in kind of like the digital commercialization and like promotion of Rongjiang and the products of Rongjiang, and like, you know, mainly agricultural products.
They're like a big watermelon producer.
Yes, love their watermelon. There were many other things though, to be honest.
So what did they credit it to? Because like hard work.
Yeah, like political organization, like working, like the party really like capacity. So like the party was integral in kind of training people, giving opportunities, not forcing anyone, but saying we're gonna do a little class on an 8 p.m. on a Friday if you want to learn how to use your phone, so you can sell your xigua, your watermelon, right? And I don't mean successful as in like capital, because that's the other thing people need to understand about China. When someone becomes successful at a grassroots level, it's not like they're buying up their neighbor's land and becoming like, you know, petit bourgeois. No, like in most cases, they're just like not, you know, living paycheck to paycheck anymore, and really able to like build their life up, and then also support their community in building their. I think what it meant for them was like, you know, we have stable income, you know, we're able to. Because we're able to make enough money now off of our agricultural products, we're able to build a little hotel in our village. No, this was all free. I was walking at 12:30 p.m. and there was a football game going. No, 12:30 a.m. and there was a football game going on. Like a local, like just you know, guys hanging out playing ball. Beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. So I guess my point is like, it wasn't a miracle. They worked really hard. There was political planning. There was a lot of failure. A lot of success. You learn from the failure, you replicate the success if it's replicatable. Right. And it's ongoing. It's not finished. Like there's a lot of work that still can be done and needs to be done. We didn't go to all. I think there's like 120 villages, ethnic minority villages. I'm sure some of them
it's a very like ethnically mixed area too,
and it's huge. It's like we drove like 2 hours up into the middle of a mountain to go to a little village, like crazy big, right? So like you have to actually like make sure everyone's life is getting better, and then also find ways to maintain it and like continue to improve it.
I can totally imagine your friends who are more on the liberal side and not the leftist side look at this would say, this is totally normal. You don't have to explain it in a socialist leftist way. This is just developmental economics. You have a good governing institutions at the local level. You have a hardworking population. You have a set of good economic policies. Eventually, these things are going to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean the leftist policy is right. It just means like good, sensible, middle of the road, centrist economic policy is the way to go. Where do you see like either collaborate with the story or like contradicts it?
Well, one thing I will say to anyone on the left is like, it's actually okay to take credit for things. like even if your project isn't like straight out of like Lenin's little handbook, like it's, if you're doing something that's good and it's working and you're a socialist and you want to promote socialism or whatever, just say that you did it because it was socialist.
And also if you ask a locals, would they say like socialism is part of?
I mean, maybe like, some of them probably, others probably would be like, I don't really care. My life's getting better. I mean, I don't know. Because not everyone's the same. I mean, the people we spoke to, like, probably yes, because you go into like the training center for the, you know, digital commercialization stuff, and there's a hammer and sickle on the wall, and like, you know, you get it, right? Does everything have to be like perfect? Like when something starts and if it's working and improving people's lives and not ruining other people's lives in the process, does it have to be like a socialist fantasy land? Like, isn't that a little utopian?
Right.
Like, isn't the whole thing like, as we like deal with contradictions, like other contradictions will arise, and then we deal with those as we go. But I think like for me, the thing about it is not like how, you know, what can I take from this experience that's going to make me like the best revolutionary and like copy this and then do. No, for me, it's like these people's lives are objectively getting not objectively getting better. objectively, not objective. They're just getting better, right? They're participants in this process. They're not just observers. It's not a welfare system.
Right.
They use this word a lot in Nicaragua, and I think it's a word that the left needs to use more, protagonism. These people are protagonists in improving their lives, improving the quality of life of their neighbors, improving their town's life. Are people sacrificing a lot of hours of their day working? Yeah, like literally everywhere else. Of course. I'm not. China is not some like fantasy land. This is not a utopian country.
Yeah.
It's a lovely country. I love China. Really recommend people come here. People work really hard here, just like they work everywhere else. West might be like, well, isn't this like how Hollywood makes like films about Black suffering? And that's, no, it's not, because these people are protagonists and they're actually dictating how these things go. Another thing that I would add is like, there might be this perception in the West that like local party leaders are like the top, you know,
like the small local tyrants controlling everything.
It's like they're just like everywhere now. Like, especially in these towns, most of them are young women, which I was really kind of surprised by, to be honest. A lot of young women. Most of the people that accompanied us were young women, actually. And also there were some like older men who were kind of like the village elders who kind of gave us more of like the tours of like the history of their village. But there were a lot of young women. And those young women were like learning with us. Like we had like a talk back session at the end, and like they were like, we would ask questions and they would like think about the questions, and then also kind of like, it was not so much like a go to your party leader and ask them. No, it was like, they were like, oh yeah, you know, like this was quite a challenge. Then we tried this and it's, you know, pretty much working. But, you know, no, it was like a discussion.
Oh. Are they like local bureaucrats or?
People would introduce themselves as like, you know, I'm the village leader. Like, and I'm assuming that has some kind of political party related, right?
Yeah.
And we would go in buildings that had like hammer and sickle. And those people were like, I work for the government, right? Like I'm a whatever. Young people who were like teaching older people how to use their phone. Again, really basic things that we forget is important in every country where more and more things are digitized. In China, those people are not being forgotten. Like they're being incorporated into this process of modernization. In a lot of the world, people still can't afford iPhones or smartphones, rather.
Oh, yeah. I can barely afford an iPhone.
A smartphone, a phone that can scan a picture.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I think people who like, you know, sing China's praises and people who are just purely critical of China need to chill a little and be like, okay, wait, this is actually like a really big country. Instead of just singing China's praises, build things, do things collaboratively. Like,
right.
You know,
Yeah.
not just be like, good job, China. Yeah, good job. A lot of things great. How can we actually do things together?
完整看完上下2期全部访谈内容，结合这位阿根廷青年从课堂理论、青年交流、贵州实地3层完整经历，我们可以完整拆解贯穿全片的核心关键词、主体性，同时厘清全球南方当下最关键的发展命题，纠正海内外大量流传的片面偏见。首先，我们先拆解中外青年交流带来的巨大认知反差，这是很多海外网友很难共情的一点。受访者提到一个非常扎心的普遍现象，绝大多数外国人更愿意相信其他外国人对中国的评价，反而不愿意倾听、尊重中国人自身的真实讲述。这种错位本质是长期西方舆论霸权塑造的认知惯性。西方媒体掌握全球主流信息传播渠道，不断输出单一片面的叙事。久而久之，海外民众下意识会把本土民众的自述当成宣传，把外来旁观者的片面评价当成客观真相。但当他和复旦本土学生朝夕交流后，彻底推翻了这套固有认知。国内年轻人完全不是外界想象中脱离全球现实，只会单向接收信息的群体。他们清晰明白当下世界处于全球资本主义体系之中，清楚大宗商品、金融价格由欧美中心城市掌控，本国经济会受到全球市场波动冲击。同时，他们会客观指出学业压力、薪资期待等现实问题。这种批评不是全盘否定，而是建立在生活持续变好的现实基础上，带着希望现状持续优化的建设性思考。这和很多拉美青年只能单纯抱怨体系，看不到改善路径形成鲜明对比。根源就在于国内拥有持续落地的基层改善渠道，普通人的诉求拥有反馈和落地的空间。 同时，双方也聊到双向认知误区，不少中国人对拉美、非洲的历史困境了解不足，低估美国长期在拉美实施的帝国主义干预、经济掠夺，而很多全球南方民众对中国的认知，要么完全被外媒抹黑带偏，要么单纯停留在宏大基建标签，看不到国内广袤乡村、少数民族地区真实的发展历程。想要消除这种双向误解，没有捷径，就像访谈反复强调的，唯有常态化、接地气的民间人文、学术交流。类似复旦这种全球南方属校，就是成本低、效率高的破局渠道。其次是 Emily Wilcox 教授以舞蹈为载体的讲座，串联起冷战至今亚非拉美反帝团结的完整历史。这一段填补了很多人的知识盲区。很多人会割裂改革开放前后的中国对外交流逻辑，误以为79年之后才开始对外合作。实际上，建国初期，中国就持续和全球南方各国开展文化、民间互助交流、舞蹈、文艺演出都是反帝团结的载体。只是时代环境不同，过去全球两大阵营对立，交流带有鲜明革命反帝色彩。如今全球化深度融合，合作载体变成春晚国际节目、跨境文旅、电商贸易，但底层平等互助、团结发展的内核从未改变，不能用时代表象的变化否定一以贯之的对外交往底色。全篇最有说服力的实证，毫无疑问是贵州榕江之行。西方舆论总喜欢二元叙事，要么把中国乡村脱贫包装成凭空诞生的神话奇迹，要么全盘否定，刻意淡化数十年的持续投入。但当地干部、普通村民给出的答案非常朴素，没有奇迹，只有日复一日的实干，循序渐进的政策规划，无数次试错调整。榕江是多民族混居偏远县域，过去深度贫困，如今依靠本土民族文化、村级足球联赛、特色农产品电商走出特色道路，整个发展过程完全规避外来资本掏空本土文化的模式。我们能看到当地基层干部大量是年轻女性，下沉到各个村寨开设免费数字课堂，手把手教老年人使用智能手机直播售卖西瓜等农产。发展文旅时优先保留本土歌谣民俗，而不是简单推倒原有文化，打造标准化网红景区。最关键的一点是，当地群众全程是发展的参与者、主导者，不是被动等待帮扶的受助者。这正是访谈反复强调的主体性，改善生活、建设家乡的主角永远是本地人政策，干部只是提供平台、技术、渠道辅助，不包办、不替代。当地人依靠稳定农业收入搭建民宿，自发组织足球赛事，依靠自身劳动稳步提升生活，不会出现资本垄断土地、贫富急剧分化的情况。这套基层发展模式完全值得其他全球发展中国家参考借鉴。很多自由派西式发展学者看到榕江案例，只会简单归结为良好地方治理、通用发展经济学，刻意回避背后的价值底色，而部分极端左翼又苛求一切项目必须完全复刻经典理论框架，容不下折中务实的落地方案。但访谈给出了更客观的中间视角，评判一项民生工程好坏，标准从来不是标签是否纯粹，而是能不能实实在在改善普通人生活。保留本土文化，依靠群众自主推进，发展本身就是不断化解矛盾、持续调整的长期过程，不存在一步到位的完美方案。摸着石头过河的务实思路，恰好适配绝大多数发展中地区的现实条件。放到更宏观的全球格局来看，当下全球南方国家面临共同难题。西方老牌霸权国家依然试图通过金融、舆论、地缘手段控制发展中国家，分化拉美、非洲、东南亚之间的协作。很多拉美精英选择依附美国，换取短期利益，牺牲本国底层民众利益，榨取本土资源。而中国和全球南方的合作始终建立主权平等基础之上，不附加政治胁迫条件，聚焦基建、农业、数字、文化民生领域双向共赢。但访谈也客观点明，不能单方面美化所有合作，合作的走向取决于各国本土执政力量。如果一国推行新自由主义政策， 中方也只能基于国与国正常外交开展合作，无法直接干预他国内政。真正的突破口是各国进步力量、青年群体、民间社群主动搭建跨区域交流桥梁，像复旦属校、民间走访、文化互访这类活动，积累民间共识，推动各国走向自主联合。最后回到视频开篇驳斥的核心偏见，只游览一线城市，永远无法读懂完整中国。这片国土地域辽阔，民族多元，东部都市、西部山区、边境县域拥有截然不同的发展节奏与生活图景，单一标签、单一城市切片都不能代表14亿人的真实生活。同样看待全球南方各国也不能一概而论，每个国家拥有独特历史、文化发展困境，只有放下预设偏见，平等倾听当地人的声音，才能获得客观认知。网络上两种极端声音其实都缺乏现实支撑，一类无脑全盘吹捧，无视国内依然存在待解决的现实问题；另一类全盘否定，全盘采信西方抹黑叙事。而这位来自阿根廷的全球南方青年给出了最理性的思路，不必单纯褒贬，重点思考如何平等协作，共同建设。民间学术交流、实地走访、青年对话是消解虚假信息、弥合认知鸿沟最有效的路径。空谈对立、口号式评价毫无实际价值。这期上下2集完整访谈到这里就全部结束了。这段来自拉美青年的实地观察，跳出欧美中心滤镜，给我们提供了非常难得的第三方发展中国家视角。如果你觉得这期内容客观有深度，欢迎一键3连支持频道，收藏方便后续回看，订阅不错过后续多元国际视角访谈内容。对于全球南方合作、城乡发展、中外认知差异有任何理性观点，都可以在评论区友好交流，我会逐条浏览大家的留言。我们下期新内容再见。